Oh man. All
Hey
right.
guys, we are live, so we're going to
Oh
give
Lord.
people a moment or two to get here. I'm hitting the go live button on Instagram.
Yeah, where
It
you at,
says,
Cody?
and what, yep, there we go. We're live on Instagram too. We're going to give people a chance to get here. We're waiting on Cody. We're waiting on Scales. Um, okay, so icebreaker question about food or not about food?
Whatever you want, man. It's
Well,
the last
I
week.
have two, so we got to
Dan can
pick
have
it.
it his way. It's the last week of the series.
Well, that was gonna be a question too, because originally we said 3 or 4, and we said every Tuesday in April. So I wanted to ask you if you wanted to do next week too. We don't have to, but we can.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, we'll play it by ear.
I feel like we've kind of covered the majority of the subject.
Oh
Cody
yeah,
feels like we're going to be. I would talk to him about this like yesterday or the day before. We're always headed back to the conversation of the fact that the player or the singer always think they know better what's going on out front, and there's no possible way for them to
Right.
to gauge.
and
It's this issue of believing you have control over things that you don't.
well, to be honest, I feel like we more or less covered everything the first episode, but I also feel like there have been plenty of times in the past where you and I have gone live and just had a discussion with no set topic, and it's been incredible, and people have loved it. So I'm never against,
I agree. Sometimes that's better. Sometimes
yeah,
when you have the parameters, it actually shuts off the just like
yeah.
going off on the tangent where it gets interesting.
And we got an interesting combination of people. We got Cody, we got JT. Those are people that
Well, if we feel like we've covered it by the end, then let's just call it.
Yeah. So okay, JT, you pick because Michael was unwilling to pick. I have 2 icebreaker questions, and I'll save one for next time if we do a next time. The food related one or not the food related one?
Let's go non-food.
Okay. What outside of your home, somewhere besides your home?
Okay.
What is your happy place?
Wow. All right. I would probably say the tour bus. Being on the road. I sleep great on the tour bus. I feel like I'm doing the thing I'm supposed to be doing if I'm lucky enough to be out on the tour bus. If I'm gonna leave my home, that's probably the next best place I'd want to be. I guess I don't really vacation or anything like that.
I don't even. You might be the only person I've ever heard say that they sleep great on the tour bus.
I sleep almost better. I've always slept in moving vehicles very well, and I think it goes back to as a child. If I was having a hard time falling asleep, my mom would throw me in the back of the car and just drive around the city. And I'd fall asleep in the car, and then she'd carry me in and put me to sleep. So I think that, like, somehow that's still in there. Like, I can fall asleep in a car, a van, anything. If we're going down the road, I'll put my head against the window. See you when we get there. It's like time travel. Wake up at the destination,
I can identify with that, like, because I usually we usually get a bus with a bed in the back. So I usually take the back cabin, and between me and that generator, man.
That's what I'm saying. You get that rumble, you get that little bit of motion going down the road. I wake up when the bus stops. What's going on?
There's that too. But like if it's a day,
or maybe we're at a truck stop and I can go get some snacks and stuff.
Right.
Right.
Yes, you're right. It can become very much like a little kind of a cocoon.
Yeah. I sleep great in the bus. So yeah, I would say outside of my house, my happy place would be on the road. On the road in the tour bus, though, not just on the road, because that's not always the most happy of places. That bus
matters
has a lot of happiness
on the road. That's right.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
What about you, MB?
No, I would almost agree. I mean, but also another place I really like sometimes is just being at the rehearsal space. Really.
Yeah, I feel that.
Sometimes it's like full immersion. We're just getting it, it's just the 4 of us smacking this music down.
Yeah.
And like I really there's a profound sense of fulfillment for me.
Yeah.
Not just with Soul Asylum, but definitely with Soul Asylum.
Sure.
But in rehearsal mode, I feel like the same thing. Like my function is being fulfilled.
That's it. And that's the thing. It's like if I'm gonna leave my house, which I'm happy to stay in, because I don't necessarily just go out on the town and do stuff.
Yeah,
I want to feel like I'm I'm at the purpose, right?
I'm getting it. I'm getting at it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yep. What about you, Spiff?
Well, it's interesting, I think it's very telling, more so than I anticipated with this question. Because, my happy place is not a tour bus, and I cannot sleep well in a tour bus. And people have asked me, do I miss going on tour? And for the most part, no. I miss opportunities the thing I miss about touring is playing regularly the same show, same musicians. Like, you get it into a well-oiled machine a lot more than you do with one-offs. You get a chance to bond musically more, so I miss that. And then I miss, there's certain opportunities to play that you don't get unless you're touring, be it certain caliber musician or artist, certain venues, etc. Sure. But the actual life of being on the road, I don't miss it in the slightest. And it might be, for me at least, partially because more than half of the tours that I did were not bus tours. They were either like commercial flights tours, like fly from date to date to date, which I hate.
Yeah.
Or
everyone thinks that's how somehow you've reached a level. That's like the worst.
I hate it. I hate running through airports. You have to figure out how to get your gear on a commercial flight.
Getting to a hotel late, not finding food, the whole thing. It's,
I don't mess with it no more. I don't fly for dates.
Mm-mm. Or van tours, van in a trailer.
Yeah. It's fun when you're 18 and 19 and 21, 2 and 3, and then it starts to taper off real quick after that, or it did for me.
Yeah. So
I'm too tall. I can't lay down anywhere in a van. I'm 6'6".
I can't.
Man.
Yeah, he's got the exact opposite problem. Me, he's too tall. I'm too wide.
That's why we're big and tall.
That's right. Big and tall. Bland and DePero.
Like the number 10.
The number 10.
Yeah.
Productions, yes.
So no, being on the road is definitely not a happy place for me. And we have Scales joining us just now. One of my happy places is definitely at my church. And that's always been the case for me. If it's been a church where I am both a member and I'm playing there, then I always feel at home. And I always I can sleep at the church. That doesn't bother me at all. And but not if it's just because I'm playing there. Like I've been playing in churches I played there that I didn't feel at home at. But if I probably joined because I felt at home there in more ways than one. And one of the other places I was going to mention, somebody threw it up in the comments. And I know I've invited Scales and JT, and I have to figure out how to invite Michael. Is a place called House on the Rock. It's kind of a museum and tourist attraction in Wisconsin. Jeremy, did we ever talk about that?
I think you mentioned it. I've been a couple times.
Okay, so you have been.
Yeah. I went as a small kid with my grandparents, and me and my wife went a handful of years ago again.
Yeah, that's definitely a happy place for me. There's music. There's all kinds of. To me, it's like static show business. All the things that I love about show business, the lights, the sound, the colors. Like I love show business because of the magic. Like you create an experience for people, and you create a certain kind of magic, and you bring them into that, and you tell a story, and it feels magical. And to me, church is like that. Church is show business. I don't care what people say. You're telling a very important story. You're using all the lights, sound, costumes, sets, all the things you use in show business. I love the magic of show business, and to me, that place is like a static version of that. And then I used to work for a museum, and when I was working there, that was one of my happy places. And then the other one I would say is, another one that it's not really there anymore was going to Bunkers when it was Michael Bland, Billy Franzi, Sonny, Margie, that iteration of Bunkers. I would get there. I would get a table off to the side on the stage left side, and that felt like home to me too. So, Scales, we're doing an icebreaker question while we're waiting for everybody to get here.
It's good to meet you, man.
So the question is, I'll introduce him in a minute. I want to talk about this weekend before we formally introduce him. But the icebreaker question is, do you have a happy place that's not your house?
Yes.
Scales, your audio is terrible, and you are an audio engineer, so you're going to have to figure out how to fix that.
Mine's not good either. I'm just on my phone, and I'm also an audio.
Yours is fine. Scales is distorted. I can't understand what Scales is saying.
And
it's irony that, the first week, I think I had a problem. Cody's had a problem. We've had all these audio engineer podcasts, and all the audio engineers have had problems.
Aubrey was just stunning on all of us last week. With her
Man.
SM7
well, she did it in her studio, though. She cheated.
Yeah.
She
I'm
did
in
it.
my studio too. I'm just too lazy to.
We are your home studio, right?
Yeah.
If you wanted to stun on us, you'd do it at Flowers.
True. I'll be there tomorrow.
Nope. Scales. It's still distorted like crazy.
How about now?
Nope. Still distorted. Are you using your computer audio? I can't hear you. What'd you say, Scales?
I'm using my audio box.
That's probably the problem. I tried that the first week, and then the engineers told me not to do that. Just use the computer mic, and it sounded better.
Okay, let's go there then.
Yeah, let's see. That's fine.
Yeah. While he's working on that, what can we already kind of covered the icebreaker question except for his answer.
Where's Cody? Is he gold bricking?
I know. You want me to text him?
Yeah, text him.
I'll send him a message and remind him. I will say this: if he's anything like me, I saw Michael's post. Hey, going tonight live again, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's tonight." I had kind of spaced myself.
Well, because you guys had a weekend. You guys had a heck of a weekend.
Yeah,
and we'll talk about that as soon as we get Scales straightened away, because I want to hear all about it, because I didn't get to go.
Is it good?
No, it's still distorted, Scales.
How about now?
Still distorted.
Shoot.
I don't have Cody's thing in here somehow.
I was about to tell it to you right over the internet.
Oh yeah. I have it in my phone, but I have my phone on airplane mode, so it doesn't get a bunch of notifications. Somehow it's not in my iMessenger.
I'll message him on Messenger.
All right. Yeah, maybe.
All right, I got my phone now. So.
Yeah.
They don't have Cody in here because we've been chatting.
Watch. As soon as I try to call him, he'll pop up.
No, now you got even worse. I can barely hear you at all now, Scales.
See, he's doing this. He's making the same mistake I made the first week, trying to make the audio better using our professional methods. And for this software, the streaming audio just works.
Hello.
So Scales, I don't know if you can hear me because we can't hear you.
You did what? Good. How are you?
Scales, can you hear me?
We're waiting for you on the on stream.
Oh, he's talking to Cody. So hit the thing. If you can hear me, hit settings and go to audio, and then go to mic, and then you should be able to select different mics.
On my phone, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Right.
I think he blanked also. He's getting on. He should be on in a minute.
No worries. Like I said, y'all had a weekend, and like I said, we want to hear about it. What's Let's see. We got an attempted Leslie Scales here too, but I don't know. There's no video from that yet, so I don't know if there's a way I can just add the audio. No, not yet.
Got an attempted what? Sorry.
See, if you can see down at the bottom.
And from a separate device.
Yeah, he's trying to log on from his wife's device.
Cody?
No, Scales.
Scales is still trying to get his sound.
Yeah. Again, I'm not surprised because it always happens when you have audio engineers.
Yeah, it's classic, right?
Yeah. We got Cody.
All right.
Cody.
I'm waiting.
Cody.
There we go.
Hey.
What's up, Cody? Cody, can you hear us?
Barely, Scales. Just the tiniest bit, Scales.
I can't. I don't think Cody's got audio either.
Yeah, we see you, Cody. Looking good. How many sound guys does it take?
Was that Cody?
Yeah. That's both of them. We got two of the best sound guys I know, and neither one of them has working audio.
Oh no, it's because I'm hooked up to my job speaker. Yeah, I got audio.
We got Cody. Okay.
See, there's my job speaker. So
are you out on the job right now, Cody? You working?
I'm absolutely on the job. So I'm gonna put. No, I'm. Let me see. I'm gonna get you so you can see. Can you see the up down?
Oh, nice.
Yeah. All right.
There's the up down theater behind me.
All right.
So I'm going to go to my audio preferences really quick here.
Okay. Keep working on it, Scales. We believe in you.
Oh, it's going great. Yeah, Scales, you could do it. Come on, man.
He's having the same problem I had the first week where he's trying to use his studio setup and the gain structure is just not working.
That doesn't Great. Uh-oh.
Nope. Still.
Sound
Log
like
out and log back
drive-through
in.
Speaker,
Log
I'm
out
on
and
my
log
phone.
back in, Scales.
Yeah.
I'm back
sent
on my
2
phone.
Big
Life's good.
Macs.
Yeah.
Too big back. Oh, yeah. No, you see. There's a
So
child.
this is
Okay, I
a
run
great
across the street
example
from
of how
you.
not to do it.
Yes. Well, let me show you. See, so I'm doing an installation right now. I'm at Ty's Uptown doing work. And that's how I messed up with the time.
That's all right. I had forgotten too. So.
Oh, I thought it was like 5. So it's not 5.
5 o'clock right now because you've been working all day. And yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I've been running all over. I have a lot going on with installation. So I was over at a school job earlier this morning, and now then we had to get some stuff in the wall here for Rich. So
let's see if this worked for Scales real quick, and then what do we got, Scales? Dead silence, not a thing.
Choose your computer, Scales.
Yeah, I'm just on my phone. The phone seems to be doing it just fine.
What's he got in the box? Okay, well, while he's working on it, while we got 3 people here working that were there Saturday, I want the play-by-play. Somebody, in case anybody has missed what y'all did on Saturday, somebody kind of give a description and then tell me how it went, because I want to live vicariously through you guys. I want to know everything amazing about it because the pictures and video look amazing.
Well, I'll explain what it was, but I'm not going to speak on it until I hear from those dudes.
We knew that, Michael.
Yeah, well, the event was called Together, and it was hosted by Brothers, which is me and Sonny Thompson. And we also took the opportunity to release, to have a single release party for our theme song, which is also called Brother. You can't get it wrong. It's all interrelated.
You can probably put the parentheses in the wrong place, though, I'm sure.
Well,
never mind. I was making a joke. It wasn't a good joke.
People a time to get used to it, the parentheses, but the parentheses are important because there's a double meaning going on.
Yeah.
So So I called almost all of the best musicians that I know, who I met while I was playing with Prince and the New Power Generation, and we had kind of a semi. It was not really I didn't bill it as a reunion because that wasn't really the goal. I mean, the goal really was to kind of celebrate Prince's life and his music on the eve of his passing. And it just so happened that the single was kind of ready to go and the video was kind of ready to, everything just kind of intersected. And so the show was a culmination of all these things. It was a celebration of, old music and new music, I'd like to say, because somebody called us a post-Prince power duo or something like that. And I was like, yes, this was really, I took the opportunity, I took the nostalgia, and I took advantage of the nostalgia to push something new that was also, related. So I feel like I did that somewhat effectively. I want to hear probably Cody's going to have a different perspective than JT. I'm not sure.
I was in the back of the stage the whole night. So
you're talking about front and backstage.
Right.
Maybe JT first.
I mean,
Let me say whatever you want to say about it, man.
No, yeah. For me, I've said it many times, but I'm happy to say it here. I always love to watch Michael and Sonny play. So anytime they're playing together, that's already great. But playing this stuff that's so close to home for them, and then having them be surrounded by even more of their peers and friends, and just kind of watching the whole thing. Just, I came to both rehearsals. There wasn't a lot of time to pull it together, and I just watched it kind of just take off like a rocket ship. I thought it was incredible. It was my first time actually meeting Levi, who was all of the guitar player I thought he would be, and quite a bit more, actually, frankly. Like, listening to him start playing lead guitar, and it's like, wow, there's something, he does something different. Like, it's like, I get it now. Like, it's Michael does something different. Sonny does something very different. So does Levi. Like, these guys are, I don't know, from a slightly different world. But then also Mike Scott on guitar, fantastic. Barbarella on keys. The Steels for me were probably the highlight of the night. I had never seen the Steels in real life before. I don't think I've ever heard 4 voices sound like 40 voices quite like that before. I mean, it was,
Yeah.
you know, I saw someone else on the internet say, like, seeing these guys play, or our friend Ken said, seeing these guys play is like the closest thing to getting to church that I have. And I totally felt that. And then I told Ken, I was like, and then you put the Steels on top and you're at church, like something. It is different. But I don't know. I thought it was incredible. I am not, admittedly, I am not super versed in the Prince catalog of music. I'm a fan, but I would call myself more of a casual fan. I don't own all this stuff. I don't know the stuff inside and out. So a lot of the material was familiar to me, but a lot of it wasn't. And I don't know. I thought every minute of it was great. The band played great. The crowd seemed to love it. I'm sure it sounded great out front. I never made it out there because I was in back, kind of helping the gears turn. But I thought it was a successful night, and I think that everyone that was there really got a treat, you know. And I hope they do it again.
Oh, thank you, the glossary. Thank you, Nia.
You want me to take that down, Michael? You tired of seeing some congratulations?
No, he's not tired of it.
No,
Michael said, "That's congratulations." How dare you say something nice?
Yeah.
Scales, just say something so we can confirm we got you.
Say something, Scales.
Amongst you guys, can you hear me now?
Hey,
Yeah.
we got
Okay, now let's hear Cody, and then we'll let Scales do the icebreaker, and then we'll keep moving.
Yeah,
Okay.
So Cody mixed the front of house, so he had the pole position all night. So what's happening out there, Cody?
Well, the band was great. The band played great. The room was a little bit swimmy, so I felt like,
box. Yep.
yeah, it was big bassy box. There was a lot going on. I felt really good about being able to get through the show, having it be a one-off like it was, and without a lot of production rehearsal. I feel like we did a really good job. Getting the show or keeping the show on the rails.
Uh-huh.
I feel like going forward on it, and I talked to Michael about this yesterday. I feel like I'll have a better time every time forward.
Sure.
Because I understand
in a day. Yep.
Yes. Yeah. I'd seen the show for the first time when everyone else did.
Right.
So it was challenging for me, and I don't feel like it was my best day, but in the world. But I feel like I didn't fail. So what does anyone else out there say? Because there's people there watching the show, and maybe they have an idea. I mean, it's been a lot of.
Anyone has said much in here tonight, but I have seen a lot of stuff on the internet post show, and it seems to be all extremely positive. So
yeah,
I haven't heard a bad word. I haven't heard a bad word said about it, and if I did, it was probably from some band member that didn't get invited or something like that. Be about
exactly
the only person that might have anything to say.
Hey,
but other than that, I mean, it was really. No, I thought it was really great, and I think that everyone that saw it, I mean, I could tell that you could feel it in the room. Like people were like, "Please do this again. This is the stuff that we've been waiting for in Celebration." There have been other celebrations, some good, some maybe not so good, but this felt a little more appropriate, I think, and was treated a little more. It didn't feel like, hey, we're doing this because we used to be involved with this guy and we're trying to. It's like you could feel that it was from an honest place, and that the people that are still left want to be around each other. You know, not only to celebrate him, but to celebrate the fact that they're still around and they still are friends and still playing. You know, so
absolutely.
I felt it.
Thank you, Michael, for doing the show.
Come on, Cody. I couldn't have done this show without you, Cody. I wouldn't have done this show without you. I
appreciate that.
I need you, Cody.
I'm glad to have been able to be there, and that's why I'm saying thank you.
I need you too, JT.
I'm happy to be there. Yeah. I came out of tech retirement for the day.
Oh, no. I appreciate that. Yeah. You took a step down. You took your promotion back for a minute.
Yeah, that's all
right.
Help
your brother out. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I would never leave you high and dry. I told someone else that the other day the next day someone called me and they're like, "How you doing?" I'm like, "Man, I'm tired. I was over there from 10 till midnight or something, you know."
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh yeah, so how'd that feel?" And I was like, If it wasn't Michael Bland, it wouldn't have happened. I'll tell you that.
You'll be crying on the internets, man. Don't say that.
I would never leave you high and dry, but if I didn't know someone and they called me, they might be high and dry. I'll say that.
Well, I appreciate it, man.
Anytime. You know that.
So, Michael, how do you feel it went?
I feel like, we got away with, like, there were no major train wrecks. Everybody was, they were playing for it, man. They were playing for their life, really, And, JT, you were at rehearsal. So
yeah,
you probably, whatever the dynamic was, because sometimes I can get, there's a blind spot in rehearsal for me because I don't see people anymore. I'm just hearing notes,
right.
It's tones and vibrations, and I'm responding to that. And I know Levi joked around a couple times, like, Mike, you hard, man. You kind of hard.
Yeah.
He didn't know.
You know what?
He was joking. He's known me since I
that,
was a kid.
Yeah.
He was making fun of me because, oh, you're the man now, Not really fun, but he was just kind of, he was being gregarious about it. But I'm like, yeah, Levi, I'm trying to keep the standard, man. And the only way I know how to do it is to keep checking everybody.
Well, wasn't it almost 30 years ago? You were a very young person when you were doing that. Yeah.
Okay, but I'm 55 now.
Right, exactly.
I'm not a very
you are a man.
But I've never been in a position of authority with these people before. I was always the youngest dude.
Right.
So for him to see me acting as, the musical director, I think he took a certain amount of joy in that. And I'd see him checking me out like, okay, all right.
What I appreciated the most about that was you were the exact same Michael Bland that I've always seen in that setting. And I wondered about that because I've seen you I've seen you not have to be mean, but have to be stern with other musicians before. And I wondered, like, okay, now that we're in a room of peers, does that dynamic change? But it was the exact same Michael Bland. So I was like, you know what? If he can talk to Levi that way, then I don't feel too bad if he talks to me that way.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. You know what? That's a good point. That's a good
You're
point.
The same,
good observation because
you were the same guy. Yep. Nothing, no change. Yep.
As someone else has been on the receiving end of it, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Integral. Yes.
And the other thing I told Michael that I noticed was there's a certain face that when you play with Michael Bland, he might look at you while you're playing, and there's a certain face he gives you that you're a little mystified by. Is he upset? Is he listening? And Levi looked at Michael and other musicians that way, and it was almost like, I think that's where that face comes from.
Can you imitate the face?
I don't know if it's something that you can just, I don't know. You've probably seen the face, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to place it. That's why I was hoping you could do an impression.
I don't know what it looks like. So
Michael has no idea.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
your head goes back a little bit.
There's this question mark in there. There's like this, like Michael said, he was like, you can't tell if he's digging it or not. And it's like, it's that thing. It's like he might be grooving or he might be like, what the hell are you playing right now? Like you can't tell sometimes.
I might be thinking about a rack of ribs, man. You can't.
And that, right. You might be looking right through someone and thinking
totally it might not have nothing to do with them people.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
But wow. Yeah, I know that face. Because you're saying I make the same face as Levi. I know which face you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's hard to make it because it's like it's just sort of like, did I hear what I thought I heard? Or are you sure that's what you're supposed to be playing?
Right. Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Right. Is that what we mean?
That's usually how I put it. So I'm not being so mean about it.
Right.
Like, is this what you mean to play? Is that intentional? Because that's the whole thing is what is your intention?
I could tell Levi had those same big ears that you have, where no matter what the volume level or no matter where people are positioned, he knows every note getting played in that room. And his eye will go to any spot that might be a little less than smoothed out. Just to what was that? His
ears will root it out, and then he looks for where did it come from.
Right, exactly.
That's what it is. I think Michael told me this about Levi, and you'll correct me, Michael, if this wasn't Levi. But I think you told me that when you first started with Prince, or maybe it was whenever Levi became the guitar player, but that's where you would look to for your timing, because his timing was 100% on, every time, and he knew every part. Like he was the foundation before you'd learned to be the foundation. And I remember when you told me that, and I'm pretty sure it was Levi, because I remember thinking rhythm and guitar for the, like I always looked to the drummer for the timing, right? And it kind of changed how I thought about playing rhythm guitar, because now when I play rhythm guitar, I'm like, okay, so if the drummer's timing is off, I'm gonna make sure this rhythm guitar part sets that foundation. Like they can, if we can't look to the drummer, then you can look to this, you know.
But see, that's the way you're supposed to be playing anyway. Keeping time is everybody's job. But it wasn't Levi, it was Miko. It was
Miko. That's why I said it might have been, yeah.
Such a watch to Miko playing guitar, man. He was so tight. But Levi and him together, I mean, they both, came from Oakland. They speak the same language. All I would do was listen to them. All the new tour, I wasn't setting the time for nothing. Those dudes, I was following them. They had been there and they had it locked, man.
So yeah, but before you told me that, I always thought that if there wasn't a click track, that I should just match my time to the drummer. And if the drummer's time isn't perfect, I just get on board with them. And
I mean,
sometimes
you changed how I thought.
It's not a guarantee that the drummer is going to listen to you, but if he's smart enough to well, I mean, it's funny. It's Cody and I, we've really been circling this drain about objectivity. And maybe this is the time to start discussing it, because you can't fix what you can't acknowledge or understand.
That's it. If you don't know there's a problem. Right.
Yeah, it's a thing where it's like, I wish this guy would do this or that. And he's probably doing the best he can, but he's limited in his insight into what the process is. Or he or she or whoever, So I don't know how you overcome that blind spot in the process. I think I was privileged to do a lot of studio work when I was younger, because it gave me a lot of insight to what my bad habits were. Like if I was going to the ride cymbal and speeding up or slowing down, how many of my fills sounded as good in my head as they did actually, once I played them. And I think that was an advantage for me. I gained objectivity over my own process, and I just started editing on the inside. Like, I don't like how that sounds. I know what that sounded like the last time I played it. Let me try it this way, And so having that sort of deeper level of awareness of what it is you're doing, it's something you develop, I think, but you have to know to develop it.
Right. I think you're right. I think the studio thing is a huge eye opener, because when you're playing and everyone else is playing it, if it feels like it went well, it went well. But then if you walk into the control room and play it back, now you'll find out how it really went. It might have went better than you thought. It might have been not even close to what you thought.
Yeah, the point is,
you got 16 microphones reminding you of every mistake you made, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
I was just listening to something recently that it was just, because if you guys are, I think everybody here's my friend on Facebook, and probably a lot of people watching are too. I take a camera with me and record everything I do if it's something that's like not like a proprietary studio session or, something like that. But anything that's just like a church or a cover band or something where it's not a problem to share the material, I record it and I post it. And there was one gig recently where the intonation in my guitar was a little off. And I know it was the intonation because I checked my tuning obsessively. And at the gig, I didn't notice. And then when I'm listening to the playback, certain notes are just a little bit out of tune, and I'm just going like this, and just like, why didn't I notice that at the time? I don't know if I could have done anything about it at the time if it wasn't, if it was intonation, maybe the guitar needed to be in the shop, or maybe I just taken it in out of 0-degree weather. There's any number of reasons, but I had no problem with it at the time. And then when I listened to the recording I made, I was just like, ugh. I posted it anyways. I posted the bad with the good, but it made me like, why, it made me think back on why didn't I notice at the time. And I think somebody even in the comments, because I think I'd even made a comment about it, maybe it was a separate post, was like that your ears react differently while you're playing than they do when you're just listening. And there's something different about even like, I can't remember what they said, but it was somebody who was kind of knowledgeable in that field, and they were talking about things that the difference in the way you hear when you're in the moment versus the way that you hear in the playback, and how that can even affect pitch.
Sure. Well, it's definitely true for singers. You got headphones on and you're singing and you hear it in your head and in the headphones, and then you walk out and hear the speakers and it doesn't always feel the same.
Exactly.
We've kind of we're getting into the topic here too. Before we get too deep into it, I do want to introduce Scales. First of all, Scales, you were starting to introduce to answer our icebreaker question. Do you still want to do that? Which is, do you have a happy place outside your home?
Sure, it's not too far from outside of my home. It's in my backyard.
I knew it. I know what it's going to be, too. It's going to be the grill, isn't it?
Exactly. My wife has a very, 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 very short leash on me. So I can't go too far without getting, a shocker or something like a dog fence.
And that's necessary. Trust me, as somebody that knows Scales, he needs the shock collar because he will get into trouble.
Right.
So let me just introduce Scales real briefly, and then we can get right back into the meat of things. I think Scales might have been one of the first audio engineers, mix engineers, sound engineers, etc., that I met when I started doing real work, outside of my city, outside of bar band gigs, and somebody's studio session that didn't really know how to engineer a studio session, but when I started actually doing stuff on the road, I met Scales. Because I met Scales, I think I was still a teenager.
You were like 13, 14 years old.
Oh, probably. And I've known him that entire time, and I've grown to respect him as one of my favorite engineers and favorite people. He's actually the sound engineer at my church, and he's actually the reason that I came to get a job at my church, because I already was familiar with the church, but I didn't know they were looking for an organist or music director, and he hit me up and said, "Hey, I'm at this church, we need you," and that ended up him and I have been there together now 6 years, and we've done all kinds of gigs together on the road. He's referred me for stuff. I've referred him to stuff. He has what I believe is probably the largest black-owned sound company in Wisconsin. He's definitely one of my brothers. And so I'm glad to bring him into this discussion. I will say this doesn't have to be what we talk about, and I'll let you guys just run with it. But the reason why I specifically thought to include him, other than the fact that he is one of my brothers, is in answer to Vismay's question in the comments, he's from Racine, Wisconsin, but originally from Chicago, Illinois, and he serves all of southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois. But the reason I thought to include him is because when Michael first presented this series to me, he presented it on musician audio relations, in terms of the relationships between sound engineers and musicians and how there's so often a disconnect. And out of all the sound engineers that I've worked with, Scales is one of them. But out of if you've been on the road and you've been in some situations, and there, one side usually right one.
Hold on, man, because as soon as he started talking and I could hear him, I know Scales. I know him right now. I love this dude. Okay, I know who he is.
Go right ahead, Michael.
The story you told me about him throwing his PA at somebody, and I'm like, I can see it now. What did he throw? A speaker? No, he threw the PA.
No speakers, no, some big old speakers.
How did he throw the whole PA?
I wish Dan would start telling people that. People get scared of me.
And rightfully so. But
I'm tired of listening to Dan talk. I want Kendrick Scales to tell me the story about him throwing the PA. I need
me too.
Well, what happened was, in a very short story.
What had happened was,
basically,
they didn't want to pay me my money.
All right.
So, and I'm a very giving person. I'm very easygoing.
Yeah.
But the attitude they gave me behind not paying me my money, I said I can't get to my 9mm in time. So I just started throwing equipment. I just started slinging it, and I was hitting the targets too. I didn't care. And I picked up a 75-pound speaker, just started launching stuff. Yeah,
a speaker overhand at somebody.
Yeah, I'm just cuffing it, just launching them. Just.
I like this.
So, I got my money though.
Well, all right. That's the important
Yes,
part.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, man.
How was your gear?
Huh?
After that, how was your gear after you threw it?
I'd do some work on it.
I just want to say this, and then y'all, like I said, you won't have to hear from me again if you don't want to. The irony of that story is that the reason that I thought to include scales is actually the opposite of that story, but both sides of it are true. When it comes to dealing with talent, when it comes to dealing with musicians, when it comes to dealing with anything outside of the business side, Scales is the most patient engineer I've ever worked with. I've seen people that come with him yelling, screaming, completely unreasonable. He never loses his cool. And I think everybody here that's ever engineered has had somebody come to you with the wrong attitude, with an unreasonable request. And sometimes, you know, and there's been other times when as a musician where I'll go to the engineer politely with a completely reasonable request, but because things oftentimes are very tightly wound when they got to set up the whole PA and get everything there. I've had engineers lose their cool when they shouldn't.
Yeah.
I have Scales is the absolute best engineer I've ever worked with in terms of not losing his cool in those situations, in terms of musician engineer relationship. Like, he just somehow he always, if they come to him with an unreasonable request, either he makes it happen or he diffuses the situation and tells them no in such a way that they cool down. And he's absolutely gifted at that. And like you said, that's because you knew him right when you saw him. You know exactly the type of person he is, and that's a true type of his personality. But then the other side of it is, you want to see the opposite of that? Just don't have his money.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean,
So
maybe that's why you can play it so cool. It's because
we can do a future episode on Scales debt collection tactics if we want.
well.
So
Debt collection tactics.
Well, it really takes my wife to tell this one episode we had. I went into a job and the man was just a jerk. I mean, a total jerk. And at the end of the night, he said, "I'm not going to pay you." Now it's 4:00 in the morning. And my wife knew where I kept my gun. I went straight to my box, and she's like, "Wait! I'm calling the police. I'm calling the police. Don't you do it." She told the host that night. She said, "Listen, if I was you, I would call somebody, get his money, because I can't control him if he gets to a certain level, and it'll be done. It'll be done. So you got to run to the bank, butt naked, whatever. You better get his money, otherwise he gonna get you, and I can't stop him."
Well,
Okay. So yeah, all right.
Dad,
You said you got your money.
Yeah.
I get my money now.
I'm sorry. I said I wasn't going to say anything else, but I got to tell the first story from the perspective I heard it, because this is probably what I told Michael. This doesn't get old to me. So I've known Scales probably 20 years at this point. And I've only seen the easygoing, goofy, lovable teddy bear Scales that y'all are seeing right now. That is the only side of him that I've ever seen. And I was Leslie Scales put on here, theft of services. So at the time, the church I'm at now, Church of Scales is at the time we didn't have a keyboard player.
Okay.
And there was this keyboard player that was originally from Milwaukee. He lived in Madison now. Older guy, real mature musician, and I thought he'd be a great fit. I thought probably he could make more with me than he was where he currently was. And I thought he'd be a great fit. So I was trying to hire him. And he was reluctant to switch jobs or whatever, and I was trying to sell him on the church. And I said, "We got Scales as our audio engineer." And I thought that'd be a strong selling point, because a lot of churches don't have high caliber engineers. They have somebody who thinks they know a little bit, somebody who used to be a DJ back there, you know what I mean? Or they don't have anybody. There's somebody who used to be an electrician, whatever. And us having an actual professional engineer that knows what he's doing, I thought that'd be a strong selling point. And the musician made this face. And he's another real easygoing guy. So I was like, "What?" He's like, "Oh, nothing. I was like, "What? Why?" Because that's not a normal reaction to that. And he said, "Man, I hired Scales for my live recording, and something went wrong. And I don't remember what went wrong. Maybe Scales remembers, but it was one of those things that just goes wrong. It isn't anybody's fault. It's just a thing where something happens, and a non-professional might blame the sound. Somebody else might blame the band. I don't remember what. Do you remember what it was, Scales?
Yeah, it was the recording company. They had a bad ground, and so it was looping through my system, which made me look bad.
Okay. So he said, yeah, okay, so maybe it was that. He said there was a hum all night or something like that. So at the end of the night, I said I wasn't going to pay him. And he said Scales picked up speakers and started throwing them. And I was like, really? Scales? Big old goofy Scales? And so after that was rehearsal at my church. And me and the drummer at the church are real close. He's been there as long as me and Scales have been there. Eric. He's another just super chill, easygoing guy. Michael knows him. Michael's met him. He's great drummer too. Best drummer I could ask for that situation. Yeah. And I told him the story, and he said, "Really, you think Scales be doing that?" And so, if you've seen videos of my church, the band pit is stage left completely, and then there's an entrance to the building immediately left of that, right by the drums. And Scales will usually get there just a few minutes before service because he doesn't have to set anything up. So Eric's on the drums, I'm on the organ. Scales walks in, I'm Scales. And Eric says, with no context whatsoever, like no preparation, like he has no idea what this is about. Scales, you be throwing speakers? And without missing a beat, Scales says, if they don't have my money. And so that's why I tell that story. He didn't even have to ask what situation it was. It's happened enough. And then later on, I asked him, I said, Scales, after service, I said, Scales, you throw your stuff or their stuff? Because if you throw your own stuff, you're doubling down on my losses. And Scales said, well, I can fix my stuff.
Yeah, right.
So, okay.
I carry insurance on my stuff, so.
Yes, I got it. It's happened enough that it was just a general response.
Right.
This is what I revert to if you don't give me my money.
Exactly.
Yes.
Pay me for my skills and my equipment, and we're done.
I got it.
Yeah. But I was raised by a godfather. And when I say godfather, I mean a godfather. And so his tactics were pay me my money, we'll talk business later.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So. I bet I got it. His money.
I mean, I don't want to seem like I'm greedy or anything, but if I work hard for it, and I'm the type of sound man where I bring extra, I give you the extra. You ask me for 1 sub or 2 subs, I might bring 6 subs. just so I know I'm covered, and to give you extra. Just sweeten the pot. And then you tell me you don't want to pay my money. Now that's where things become difficult.
I got it. We don't want difficult.
Right.
We don't want misunderstandings and repercussions.
I like it loud. You're right.
Yeah.
I like it very loud, Dan. Yeah.
That's all right. Cody used to be like that. Cody used to have the bunkers rocking.
Hey, Cody.
Yes.
I get in trouble often about you are too loud.
I have a range of capacity in that now. I had some church experience too that helped me with that, and being able to run at a lot of different levels. And Michael helped too during those 10 years that we cleaned it up.
Yeah,
I would say
we had a good run, Cody.
Now,
yes,
my background is church, and I've been released from several churches because it has been loud, and they're like, bring it down. I'm like Dan. Then I gotta feel it. I'm sorry. You want me to give you a good mix? I gotta feel it. So.
For you. That's all right. Mix for you, man. Yeah.
That's
exactly.
Right. Amen.
Exactly. Chicago churches, yeah. See, that's my background. Chicago churches, especially the storefront churches, they just like it loud.
Yeah. I got it. Wow. Well, I don't even know really where we headed at this point.
I don't know either. Dan started
Oh,
whole.
I didn't start this. I was trying to tee you up to talk about how easily you work with other musicians, and then Michael wanted to hear the story straight from the horse's mouth, the legend of Kendrick Scales, of
Because
HK Scales.
I didn't know if Dan gave me a proper account. I wanted to hear from the man, the thrower of things.
Absolutely.
Soil,
I've calmed down a whole lot in the last 15 years.
What I love is that Michael immediately saw Scales and was like, "Oh, that's true."
Yeah, no, I got it. I get it. Generous to a fault. Give me the shirt off his back, throwing the buttons too. But if you mess with his money, you might.
Go ahead.
No, that's all right.
I will say this too, and in defense of my friend, he does plenty of corporate work, and he knows how to keep it quiet when it's time to be quiet. But his background is church, and he's also a preacher. He's also a musician, and his favorite way to praise is through the sound. If you give him a chance between praising on an instrument, praising on the microphone, or praising on the soundboard, he gives God praise through the soundboard. So at our church, at least, when he gets in trouble for the front of house being too loud, which happens, and it's not always my fault.
Every Sunday.
It's because the Spirit hit him, and he wanted to feel it.
Well, the Spirit hits me because the Spirit be on Dan, and I'm not gonna say what kind of spirit it is, but it be a low, down low. I low can you go spirit on Dan, and I have to override Dan.
Don't put it on me.
Low spirit.
Yep, I see who.
Trying to give me a hard time.
See, no, it's funny because Cody is also Cody's a very physical mixer. Like it's a thing where he needs people to feel what's happening. So I get that,
Somebody sent me a video one time. It might have been our boss. It might have been Thaddeus. Of during like what we would call a high praise or a praise break in the church. They took a video of Scales, and his hands were literally dancing on the mixing board. He was really into it.
His hands caught the Holy Ghost?
His hands caught the Holy Ghost.
Not his elbows, but his hands.
Not his elbows, just the hands moving.
Okay.
That's real, though. I've seen a lot of sound men, and I always love that. I've seen a couple light guys same way, where it's like, it's a performance. It's not
exactly.
Just set it,
you have to feel
make it work, and then don't touch it. You're on it. You're working that instrument. You
gotta be engaged to it.
That's it. Yep.
I don't know.
That's exactly right.
Have you seen that footage of us playing at the Minnesota State Fair, JT?
Yeah.
Where Cody is like pogoing in the corner.
Yeah, he's doing monitors from the side of the stage. He's in the whole
having
video.
a party by himself back there.
Yeah.
I would love to see that's it, Cody. Yeah, that's it.
I'll tell you how that really blessed me too. To use a churchy terminology, is that first of all that let me know that he was truly using his gift, because he was feeling it in the same way a musician would feel it. But then also it made me see him as an engineer, as a musician, because he's in our band group chat. He's in all the discussions that the musicians have, because he's part of the band, and so we have band group chat that we just sometimes we're talking about the music, sometimes we're just talking about life, but he's a part of that. He's a part of the band because I saw him playing his instrument the same way the drummer plays his, and I play mine, and so on and so forth, and so that really kind of opened my eyes to, again, another linchpin in the engineer-musician relationship.
Yeah, that they're completely interconnected.
Yeah.
Because I would have thought, before then, because Scales used to be a drummer, so, when he's feeling it, he feels it as a drummer. No, when he feels it as an engineer, because that is his first and primary gift.
Right. Yes. And Cody could understand what I'm saying here. You have to hear all parts to make it work, the whole mechanism, and make it work as a performance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's where, for me, it's my excitement. It's my therapy in a sense, almost, and my gift I give back, because I'm giving the audience the CD sound or the record sound, because that's the way I learned. I learned, listen to the record and you mix this way.
Yeah. Now, Cody is not exactly that type of an engineer. Cody is really, it's physics and feelings for Cody. I think that's it.
Oh, that's not even bad.
Cody, am I misrepresenting you?
No, I don't think so. But I think it's been kind of a journey for me. I used to not be able to run sound unless I was standing on my feet and dancing to the band. And you remember Zach Schaff, right, Michael? And I don't know if any of the other, if you guys all know Zach, but Zach used to say, if Cody isn't dancing, it's not going well.
That's right. Because
And if
you're not dancing, you're at the job. You're doing your thing. You're trying to get there. And that's the thing I always love about Cody, that I don't see a lot of sound engineers. A lot of sound engineers arrive at a place and say, okay, that'll do.
It's all working.
Right.
Don't touch it. Right.
Cody keeps
Exactly.
pounding that PA until it does something beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think
He will not rest until it sounds like he hears it in his head or in his ears or in the room. Like it's all got to come together for Cody. He does not stop until he's
if Cody don't deliver, it's hard for the musicians to deliver, or the artists to deliver, the service to be delivered. You know, it's a 1-2 punch. You know, you got to have a good engineer that's in tune. You got to be in tune, and if you're not feeling it, whether it's the dancing, like Cody just said, or me rocking to it, you know, it's like you just, like Jeremy said, you just like bland. It's garbage.
I mean, if you're not inspired by what you hear, then how is anybody else?
Yeah, how's the audience gonna like it? Yeah,
exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jeremy, what do you think?
I totally agree. I mean, I don't get to mix live anymore, but I do mix a lot of records, and I kind of feel like, I think the reason I relate to the way you guys mix and kind of get it, that's how I mix records. Like, and I grew up kind of a bit of a musical jack of all trades. I wanted to be a drummer and a bass player and a guitar player and a. So now when I get to mix records, I feel like I kind of get to play everything.
Right.
Like I'm the final ultimate musical instrument. I'm now playing the whole band, you know? So, and it's the same thing for me. Like I can tell if I'm in the chair and I'm into it, then we're getting somewhere. And if all of a sudden music's going by and I'm just sitting here looking at the screen and my body has no motion in it, like something's way off, and we got to start looking, you know. And I don't know what it is necessarily, but whether it's the song or the mix or something within it, like we now have a problem because I'm just like, and I'm not enjoying it or working towards enjoying it. I'm just stopped and stuck, kind of, you know. So, yeah. So I feel that as like I said, I love seeing live guys that appear to be interested and engaged and all the way through. Not just like, cool, nothing's feeding back, I can hear everything, I'm gonna go have a smoke. Keep an eye on this thing for me, kid. You know? Because there's a lot of sound guys like that too. You look out there and they're gone. You know, because nothing's feeding back. We're good. You know, but
I run across a lot of guys like this, especially the younger guys. First they think they know it all, and they go in. Now I came up on an analog board, so you know, analog. You miss 30 seconds, you miss a whole show. You know, now they got the digital. They just walk around and, you know, just take it for granted that it's going to perform.
Right.
You know, and that, like you said, take a smoke or a drink or a puff or whatever.
Or maybe all three. You know?
Maybe.
Because it's fine. I can hear it. I can hear it from out in the alley. It sounds like it's fine. It hasn't stopped. We're good.
What they don't tell you though is that all of those spirits relax your muscles, and then your ears don't respond to the sound.
And your ears. The first thing to go is your high end, and all of a sudden you're gonna start brightening up everything because you're starting to dull out. You know.
Stay off of them drugs, kids. Don't do drugs if you're gonna run sound.
That's right. You do it after the show. Then you do whatever you want.
After, right?
Once the trailer door and truck doors are closed, then you do whatever you want.
You can shoot heroin for all I care.
I learned a really good lesson at Bunkers because we used to work 2 nights in a row. And my good friend Robert Kroll would always challenge me with some kind of shot of liquor. And because I can't say no if someone does that, because you know I'm a guy and I can handle it. So I'd come in the next night and start the rig up and listen to where I left off from the previous night. And I realize that a sound person should not drink any alcohol at all.
All right.
I don't think it works for us because of what you said, JT. Your high end goes away and you just end up mixing really bright.
It's like all those records in the 80s are bright because everyone was doing coke on the console and had no high end left in their ears. It's the truth.
Yeah.
It's super detrimental.
Yeah.
All right.
I agree.
Well, you just probably scared a good percentage of people out of the profession.
There's plenty of time for that afterwards.
Yeah, there's days off. You know, there's days off.
There's plenty of time for that.
Yeah.
I know there's exceptions, but I've always hated the musicians that think they play better under the influence of something, because 9 times out of 10 they don't. It just sounds better to them. I used to tour with a reggae band, and we would do our rehearsals, and they rehearsed in my church because they lost their rehearsal space. And I said, you can use my church as long as the lyrics are relatively clean. But obviously you can't smoke weed in the church. So we would do the rehearsals completely, everybody'd be sober. And the rehearsals would sound great. And then before the shows, everybody but me would get really high. And to them, it sounded so much better. And to me, who had the same set of ears as I did at rehearsal, I'm like, oh no. Yeah. Like they played because
there's a couple wrong things there. I learned this at some point. Practice the way you play.
Yeah.
If you're gonna smoke before you go play your show, then smoke before you practice and keep it the same, because otherwise you're gonna be in a different world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny that you bring that up, JT, because you remember that day we were talking about Smith, can we get an 8:30? Can we get a 7?
Yeah, can we get something that doesn't start at 10 p.m.? Yeah.
Soul Asylum rehearses really late because Ryan Smith is the all-being. And he wakes up at 6 in the morning and he doesn't go to bed till 6 in the morning.
Exactly.
He starts his next day. He's he gets no sleep, and we have to rehearse like around 10 o'clock just because he's got stuff to do.
Right.
But somebody once, I was complaining about it. Somebody, they were like, well, that's what time you guys would probably be gigging. So you might have.
We figured that out. Same thing. Remember last summer, something happened in our rehearsal space last summer where the air conditioning changed, and all of a sudden it was just 100 degrees in there every day. And we started really griping about it. But then one of us was like, we're about to go out on an outdoor summer tour. So I guess we should practice like this because it's going to be hot as heck out there every day anyhow. So maybe this is actually a good idea. And then we just kind of rolled with it. And it probably was.
It was, again, that Minnesota State Fair gig.
Right. Oh, yeah. Where it was literally 101 degrees or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we got to the gig and it was actually not that bad.
Yeah, because we were already used to it. Right.
Yeah. We'd already been in the pressure cooker.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So I think there's some truth to that, Dan.
Yeah, I think so. Whether it's one way or the other, whatever it is, consistency is a good thing. I think in the musical headspace. Mm-hmm. If you learn and do everything one way and then go to your show and try to do it a whole different way, how is that going to work out?
That's a good bridge to something that you and I were talking about yesterday, Michael, when we were talking on the phone. Is that if a group has a way of playing a show, playing in one venue or another venue, changing the show for the venue doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I think if you play your game the same wherever you are, whether it's big room, small room, it's the same show. And if you approach it the same way, then it's going to come off the same. And if you change, it won't.
No.
Yeah. A lot of cats get excited when they see the size of the room and go, "Oh, great! Now I can turn up just as loud as I want." And
Dan,
no, Mr. Leslie over there, I see you. Yeah,
2 Leslies.
2. Oh yeah, it's stereo.
Wait. Dan,
I wish.
Dan, do you have 3 Leslies outside?
No, outside was just 2. But you remember when you first, not when we first met, but when you first started coming to church with me was when I was at Now Faith. And at Now Faith, I had 3 Leslies and 2 tone cabinets, and to this day, that's the best sounding organ I ever played. But in my defense, that was a 100% dead room. That room seated maybe about 300, 350. So it wasn't a huge room, but it was decent size. But it was carpeting, chairs, carpeted stage, and acoustical tile ceiling. So I could make as much noise as I wanted in there, and it didn't cause the same kind of problems that it would in a much more reverberant room. And I loved that room for that, because that room was dead. So I could have 3 Leslies. I tried that where we are now. Two of them Leslies would be in a dumpster.
I feel like I see 2 front of house guys smiling and nodding and going, "You still should have only brought 1." Though,
I'm not saying anything. I will say though, if you played with 3 Leslies one day, you should probably do it the same the next day. So I can't say that. So yeah, because then you're the same. That's what I was talking about. Yeah.
The point is, your sense of proportion has to stay consistent. You don't let the room determine.
The magnitude of the event will take it to the next place. There's nothing
you don't have to push it there.
You need to deliver the same delivery as every other time, right?
Well, it's your relationship with everyone else, because that's what the whole conversation here is about. Is there's a relationship there between each band member, and then when we're allowed in the room, also the sound engineer can become part of that conversation. And I think it's important to have things as much as possible be where they were, so those relationships and those ratios stay the same.
So here's my question for Cody and Scales on that. So would the sound engineer be the one band member who does change room to room? As an example, if you're playing a huge room and then Scales brings 6 subs, and then you're playing a 200-seater and Scales brings 2 subs. Does everybody else play the same, and then the sound engineer is the one? Is that part of that relationship?
Scales, you want to go first?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. Well, my view on that is the size of the room determines the amount of gear. My sound pressure levels, I mix pretty much at the same sound pressure level on a given show, the same. There are some venues, there are some things that I do. You were talking about corporate, or that it wouldn't be appropriate for me to be at 115 decibels. I was at the Uptown. We were at right around 115, and that's pretty loud for me. And these days, because it has changed, but I find myself usually around 106. That's what I mix at.
Right. And the
so it doesn't matter the size of the room.
If you bring more PA, it's because you need more PA to fill the space that you're in.
Coverage. Yep.
Yeah. Just coverage. Right.
Yeah.
That'd be my thesis.
Coverage is not necessarily volume.
Right. It's not just to be louder. It's to be able to give the same sonic spectrum in a much larger area.
Okay.
Right.
I just want to make sure I understood. Yeah.
That would be what I'd say. Yes.
Yeah.
Which is very, very good perspective. That sound level thing, I just haven't figured that out yet. But
you got it. You got it just right in your chest. When it hits your chest at a certain spot,
that's right.
The right sound level. Right.
Just hit me.
Yeah, that's it. Meter. That's all right.
But you're mixing at the same level everywhere, right? I mean, be it loud or not, you have a comfort at a certain. That's where you mix. Yeah.
I try to mix according to the pressure of the room. So if the pressure of the room is 1,000 people and it's a compact room, I really don't need to push the sound in a compact room. But you have 1,000 people in a full-size auditorium, I push it because I got more coverage.
Yep.
So I base mine off of the pressure of the room, and then also who's the artist. So in church world, especially in Pentecostal people, you can have. I mean, my dB levels are probably off the chart, which I've been told more than the good Lord allows. I average about 130, 140. Sometimes I go 150. It depends. It depends. And then on the other side of the spectrum, the church could be a very mellow praise and worship service where I don't have to push it, but I try to build mine off of the dynamics of the service and the room. That's where I play how I play my field.
Okay.
That makes sense. You know when you're getting the experience that you feel you should be getting, and whether there's a meter telling you that or that doesn't matter.
Meter, what's a meter? That yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. It's all based off feeling for me,
Right.
because I could walk into a room, a lot of sound guys go in, they clap in the room. I'm like, no, if the oxygen level is right in the room, if it's a cool room versus a hot room, if it's spaced out, all of that plays a part in my vision of how I build the system for that room.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
That makes a lot of sense.
There's a lot more to it than people think. You don't just drag in a
Oh,
couple
yeah.
speakers and turn them on. It's like there's a lot
Exactly.
involved in this.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. The job I have this coming weekend, now the room holds maybe 250 people, but the service is like 2,500 people are there. So I'm carrying in my big system for a small room because the service they expect or the sound they expect is a full sound.
Sure.
So they're full band, 5-piece band, 8 background singers.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a lot of open mics.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can handle that.
Uh-huh.
In a tight room.
Cody's having an anxiety attack right
Yeah.
now.
I really am. Lips to the windscreen, people. That's what I.
Yeah, I listen. I just give it to them where they want it and pray I don't get any feedback.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So, Skills was, and by the way, he was joking about some of that. I know I've never seen him use a meter, but I have seen him accurately tell me what dB level we're at. So I know he was some of that wasn't joking though, but some of that was. But the question, because Scales watched our first episode, but he wasn't here. I mean, we talked a lot about the relationship between the engineer and JT. I don't think was here for the first one either. We talked a lot between the relationship between the musicians and the engineer. And again, I've already talked about how Scales is actually a member of our band. And even when you talk about musicians playing by feel, and there's, as we talked about in that first episode, there's pros and cons to that. Like, Scales goes out on the road, so he's not at the church every Sunday. The Sundays that he's not there, it doesn't feel right. And we control our own monitor mixes for the musicians. The vocals, obviously, he controls, but we each have our own mixer, either for our monitor or for our ears. So it's not because the monitors are different. It's because the room feels different based on him mixing. And so even then we can feel, and so, like I said, for us, it's kind of a no-brainer that he has, our best interests, even going by what feels good and what doesn't, much less what actually sounds good and what's going to get us complimented by the people that sign our checks, as opposed to in trouble with the people that sign our checks. Mm-hmm. But so I know we've all been in those situations where it's an antagonistic relationship between the band and the engineer. So I wanted to kind of present that same discussion to Scales in terms of, like, what do you do when you're with a new group of guys you haven't had a chance to bond with yet? What do you do to let them know that you can be a member of the band and be a valuable part of making it sound and feel the way that they want it to? How do you get that trust?
Well, basically, I addressed them like this. First of all, I'm a musician at heart. Bottom line, born a musician, I'm a musician at heart. Trust me enough to give you what you need for the audience, because you can't hear from the stage to the audience. So trust me enough, but turn it down, give yourself a good monitor mix, right, Dan, that you're comfortable, and let me address the house. And I promise you, you will not complain, or we won't get any complaints. You will hear everything in the mix. drums, especially drums.
Because you're a drummer first.
I'm a drummer first. Drums and organ. If there's an organ in the house, you will hear drums and organ definitely through me. And vocals. Vocals are very important because that sweetens the pot. And the worst thing I hate is going into an event and the vocals are just mixed horrible. They sound like crap. They could be the worst singers, but you can mix them to the point where you can make them sound decent.
Right.
Yeah. That's me. Yeah.
That was the first thing I ever heard. If you're going to be a sound guy, there's two things you got to know. Drums got to be great and vocals got to be great because there's two types of people in the audience. The people that want to dance and the people that want to hear the words.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it.
And all the other stuff is just kind of icing on the cake. But
it's fluff,
those are your two main ingredients. Yeah.
That's right.
Somebody in the comments said you mix at 175. I'm pretty sure we wouldn't be alive if that was the case. But I gotta find some of my scales memes.
That's Tim, Dan.
Oh, that's Tim?
That's Tim.
That's one of his subcontract sound companies that he subcontracts to. They're great too, actually.
Yeah. That's my partner in crime. So especially outdoors, it's no limit. I'm going. I'm going for it. I go for it. If I blow a horn, I have one in the trailer. I promise you. I will fix it on site.
All right.
Hey, 6 screws. Okay, let me say this. You have to know your gear. You have to know your gear. I learned that as a drummer. Even though I came up on a Ludwig set.
What's wrong with that?
No, it did me great. Before I elevated to the Pearl and the Yamaha, Ludwig was standard. But you had to know your set. You had to know what deep tones were going to work in certain churches, because I grew up as a church musician, and it wouldn't work, or what songs and so forth. So you got to know your gear. A snare strand break, I got one in the box, so you ain't got to worry about it. Turn the snare over, put it on real fast, duct tape and all.
Yep, I've done it.
It's
yes,
funny
sir.
You say that. My whole night at Michael's show the other night, all I could think about was I only have one bass drum pedal here.
Oh no!
That was all I could think about for the whole show.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just like, after every song, I'm like, okay, that's one more down. I was literally checking them off the set. That's the only thing that could go wrong tonight that would sink me completely. You know what I mean?
Wow, man.
Everything else I could say. I didn't wasn't going to say anything to you.
Well, yeah,
right. What pedal do you use, Michael?
I've been with Yamaha for since about 1997.
Okay, so good deal.
Mostly I'm using Yamaha equipment. I mean, if it's a studio session, and sometimes live. It's like I own a couple. I have what is that drum I got? Is it an Acrolite, JT?
Yeah, you got a Ludwig Acrolite now, a newer one. Yeah, and then that old Gretsch snare, and
incredible.
The studio, anything goes.
Dan, come on.
Oh, we got the scales memes coming up.
But Yamaha has been blessing me for many years. So that's what I play. That's who I'm with.
I have a Yamaha Stage Custom. I just refuse to get rid of it. It's my last set. That's my favorite one.
I like that.
That's my favorite one.
Wow. Who made that?
Dan.
Your mic's off, Dan. You're muted.
Turn your mic on, Dan.
Turn your mic on.
You guys keep the discussion going. I'm going to look for the rest of my Scales memes. But I didn't make all of them, though. Other people have made Scales' reputation. I think the speaker throwing GIF is coming. We're going to have that as well. But in the meantime, but no, I want to hear the discussion. Ignore me. I'm just going to throw these up there as I find them, and if nobody else laughs at them, I'll laugh at them. Me and Leslie.
I think Yamaha drum sets, if you want to do another plug for Yamaha, are the most consistent set to set, a stage custom and a recording custom set. One kick to the other kick will be very, very close. And the same thing with the toms. Some of them speak a little bit more than others, but the general shape of all Yamaha, to me, the way I hear things is very, very consistent.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The drummer in my dad's band when I grew up as a young kid always had a black recording custom Yamaha. So I always just assumed, and kind of still do, like that's kind of the top shelf. So, like, I don't know. I've heard Yamahas do everything.
Yeah.
Open and long notes, dead low notes, everything in between.
Yeah.
The different heads sound like different heads, and they will respond differently. And you can make a Yamaha do anything you want.
Yeah.
Sorry, Billy Thomas. Slingerland.
Great drums
He's a
out there
Slingerland
too.
guy.
Right. Yeah.
He's a Slingerland man.
Well, those are cool. I like Gretsch. I like Slingerland. I got a Ludwig behind me.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
you can't discount the Yamaha.
no.
They have a lot of character, but they're consistent. Yamaha is very consistent.
Yeah. They're consistent. You can't beat their hardware. Like it's so flexible and so sturdy.
Right.
Yeah. And I think I mainly went with them because of the hardware. It's just like because I saw like Pork Pie and I saw like the DWs, and it's like, man, I'm not going back to knurling.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Hey, Michael doesn't like the knurl.
All this knurl, all this machine shop, no. And I don't want to get into like a Gibraltar rack with more knurling. No, thank you.
Oh, I hated those things. Jeez.
Yeah.
Aaron, I have a rack I'd love to give you.
If it's stationary, I used to do backline, and I hated racks.
Yeah,
I hate them. When I saw it on riders, I tried to talk them out of it real quick. I'm like, no, I'm not bringing a rider. And a rack of it.
Rack, right.
Yeah. And I'm like, no. You know how much time consuming it is to put your gear on a rack? No, I'm not doing that.
Wow, I didn't know people actually had the nerve to ask.
Oh yeah. Especially guys that were getting to the Pearl Export series.
Okay.
Yeah, because that set seemed to work better with the racks.
Sure.
I just didn't like them.
Oh, that's right. Because I mean, they weren't exports, but Jeff Porcaro was the first
Pearl
dude
had a
rack. Who
had a rack system. They had that square version for a while.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can get 15 toms on there. That's why.
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Too, when you start playing 8 through 18, then you might need a rack all of a sudden to get all those drums in there. Right?
Yeah.
Nah.
No doubt.
But anyway, now we're talking about drums.
We are.
All right. No one wants to hear that except the people that are here right now.
Except for the four of us who,
and maybe Billy. Right.
I mean, we have a lot of musicians that have listened to this. Remember, we've had drum-centric shows. We had the Clyde Stubblefield tribute, the David Garibaldi tribute. So yeah, drum nerdery is very much in our wheelhouse.
And it's all part of it. It's all part of the sound, right?
Exactly.
Sure.
Fundamental.
And
do have
we were just talking about how important the drums were in the mix. So
absolutely.
All right.
It just segue to it,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do want to ask Scales another question too, but this is a kind of a way for me to try to get some dialogue going between Cody and Scales, is because Cody, I know you're older than I thought. I mean, you told me your age. You don't have to shout it out. Scales, I don't mind mocking, obviously from the memes and everything else. Scales is an old man.
Damn, Mr. Tact.
But both of you guys have done phenomenally in the shift from analog to digital. And I wasn't a witness to Cody's transition, but with Scales, one example that always sticks with me is we played it was actually the Clyde Stubblefield tribute band. We played Summerfest, and I asked Scales to come along as our engineer. We don't normally, gig with an engineer, but I had him with me for some reason that week, and I said, can you come and engineer for us at Summerfest? And whatever board they had for us at Summerfest, and Scales will probably remember, it was obviously a digital board. He'd never seen it before, and you had seen it before?
I seen it, but I never worked on it.
Okay, whatever it was your first time on that board, and like the whoever was providing the gear for Summerfest was shocked at how quickly Scales came in and learned that board and had an amazing sounding mix. And I think they actually offered him a job on the spot. And that impressed me because even if you grew up with digital stuff, it's hard sometimes to transition from one interface to another. But to be somebody who grew up with analog and be able to adapt, to be able to see a completely new board and learn where everything is while you're mixing on the fly and be able to have a great sounding mix by the end of the first song, what is that like, and what is the approach to approaching a new piece of gear, especially if it's in this digital age, and learning it on the fly, and especially as somebody from an older generation who remembers analog and had to adapt to the young person's game?
Is that question directed at Cody?
It's Scales first, and then Cody as well. And I'm hoping that they'll argue together about it.
Yes. Okay.
Well, my approach to digital is just like it was with analog, because I didn't work on every analog board, but they all had seemed pretty much the same family as far as structure. So you had your gain structure, your EQs, your aux-ins, and so forth. My approach to digital is stick to the basics first. Once I conquer the basics, which is the mix, I know my layout, then I can go in and make my tweaks. So as far as the Summerfest, it was simple because first of all, I love the board that I worked on. I was never worked on it, but I've been studying it, which was a D-Live. And I mean, D-Live is cream of the crop for me. I don't need anything else above a D-Live. You can take all this other stuff and whatever, but give me a D-Live, I'm in heaven. So I've been studying it, but never worked on one until the Summerfest. So I knew some of the layouts and what it took to get to the EQs and so forth and different pages.
I like Alan Heath stuff too. I'm really happy with the way that they lay out a desk. I also love Yamaha because they also are very wise about the layout of their desk, and so it is fairly accessible. The Alan Heath stuff right now, though, is sounding a lot better than almost anything. The unfortunate part about Alan Heath is I don't think they're going to capture the market, even though they have a superior product and they're easier to navigate.
Right.
It's just a tough time. And there are a lot of desks out there that younger, and that's what I would say about how I learn. I'm a very ADD person. So it's really important for me to prepare well for things in order to be successful, and not get lost. So I do the same thing that you do. I'll get my show together and then move beyond that as time permits and as I'm able to. Anyway, the most important thing is to find out where everything is. And if you'd studied the D-Live makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the nice thing about Alan Heath stuff, is it does make sense, as well as Yamaha. There are other consoles out that if you don't have a show file, it's tough. Yeah. The water gets deep really quickly, and it's pretty scary. For me, as an older engineer, young kids, they seem to do a lot better. But I've got stuff to say about that too, because I think a lot of, like you were talking earlier, Scales. It seems to me like it's more important what the gear is doing, and that they have a million they're running a bunch of plugins, which cause a lot of latency, and it's meat and potatoes to me. Gain structure is God, and then the shape comes after that.
Right.
If you're all worried about whether or not you're using the coolest multi-band compressor or whatever, I just think that's a real, and your head's down and you're looking at the desk the whole show. I don't feel like a lot of engineers really think about how it sounds. They're more concerned with what they're doing.
The bells and whistles. Yeah.
Right.
I agree with you. Yeah. Yeah. I probably argue with more sound guys about the bells and whistles than anything. And because they, for instance, I gig a couple weeks ago. Guy came in Even though it was a digital rack, he had compression on everything. And he wanted to argue with me that I had my compressors on my amps. I said, no. Anyone that knows me knows I run my stuff wide open. I don't put any limit to my stuff. I control it from my desk. And I don't put any limit. The only thing I have a limit on is Dan. I'm talking about the church. At the church is Dan and the kick. That's the only thing I run compression on. Everything else is wide open. I don't care. I control it in the mix. But a lot of these younger guys want the bells and whistles because first of all, it makes them think they're cooler. Second of all, it thinks they're getting brownie points for their technical theory, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And I'm like, no, it's you have to give them something and then pull it back if necessary. You don't have to. To me, when it was analog, I think I didn't get a lexicon until like 2 years before I started going to digital. Everything else was just compressors and EQs. I learned from a guy that was strictly EQs. He didn't run no compressors or limiters, anything. He was strictly EQs, and he always had the sweetest mix.
Yep.
The sweetest mix.
Fundamentals.
Exactly. And I took my cue from him because he taught me the tricks of the EQs. You know, not just ringing it out, but just how to sweeten the pot. You know, your vocals. This is your range, 2K to 4K. If you stay in that range, bump them up. You're gonna get your altos and your sopranos to scream real nice. Your tenors come in there; they're gonna be nice and mellow. You want your bottom, you know, you go here to your 100 and below and so forth. And you want your bass rig to sound sweet, you know, you just give them that extra 60 hertz. And that's the way I learned. But these guys come in, they got their RTA meters, and they just, you know, I was like, what the heck are you doing? They're like, I'm running my RTA meter. I said, can't you just do it by your ears?
Right.
You know, what are you doing? Because you're giving a false sound through electronics. And a lot of guys, if I could say it properly, cheat themselves in their mix, in their performance, because they try to give all this bells and whistles.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep, fundamentals and gain structure. People they use a compressor or they'll pull a lot of frequency when if your gain structure is correct, those things wouldn't be necessary. Throwing away 10, 15 decibels on a vocal channel to a compressor is just throwing away gain. We're getting technical scales. See what you did, Dan?
Well, I got two things I want to say since you shouted me out. One is that one of the things that I love about both of you guys, and I feel like there's such a learning experience here, whether you're an engineer or not, is when I asked Cody and Scales about learning new equipment, like notice, I think they both said this, I know Scales did, because he was talking about mixing on a board he never mixed on before. He didn't know I was going to call him for that. That Summerfest gig was like a day of thing, so he didn't know he was going to mix on that board, but he'd been reading up on it anyways. At how old are you, Scales? 55?
57, be 58 next month.
Good God, Scales.
Awesome.
And still can throw a speaker too.
Still can throw a speaker too. But at 57, he hasn't lost his curiosity about new gear. He's still reading up on the next thing, and Cody kind of alluded to that too. Go ahead, Michael.
Cody I was going to ask Cody, what was your experience like on that Midas board? You never mixed on it before, right?
Well, I have a saying, and maybe this isn't great for you to hear, but your first day is your worst day, right? So on anything. So if this is a conversation about the Midas, the HD96, the new Heritage, I personally am not the biggest fan in the world of the desk. And I wasn't of the Pro Series Yamaha stuff or Midas stuff either. It's too much scrolling, too much time to get your hands on stuff that you want to get at. And it's a great sounding desk. It has everything in the world on it. But again, you find yourself on the wrong page when you need to be somewhere else. And
Right.
if I had 3-4 show, when I have 3 or 4 shows on the desk, then I'll get a layout that that will work for me. And that's what I was talking about with show files. Is some desks are more friendly that way, and others are not. And I find Allen Heath to be easy and Yamaha to be easy. You can just jump right in. A lot of them you have to have a start file that suits your mixing style.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just too. They're just not laid out, and the access to the things that you want isn't where it wants to be. But I think I had a good show because, again, I was careful. I knew that I was in new territory. I knew that I hadn't seen the band or heard the band, and I knew. So I went in 3 days or 4 days ahead of. 4 different days and wrote a show file for the desk. And fortunately I did that because everything worked, and it was a blessing. I don't credit myself at all for the success, but I did have to prepare.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't asking you to like narc yourself out. I just wanted to know what you thought.
No, I want to be honest. About I didn't think it was my best performance. I think I said that. I said it. I know I said it to you. I think I said it to JT. It's not an excuse. You know, I learned a long time ago when we, excuses don't work. I'm not asking for an excuse. I feel like I owe everybody, my truth.
Yes. That's great. That's all anybody can, that's all you should be offering people.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, Frank, for me, like that honesty just shows me or tells me how much you care about all of it. Because otherwise you could just say, it went great, man. It sounded great.
A lot of engineers do that.
Yeah, a lot of engineers do that.
Yes.
And to double down on what Spiffy said.
Are we about to get a lecture? Sorry.
No. I just wanted to say that from the transition from analog to digital, that's exactly what I heard from both of these guys. It's the enthusiasm.
Right.
You could go into it going, oh man, I've never seen this console before. How's this going to work? This is going to be a nightmare. And now you're set up for failure. But Scales came in. He's like, oh man, this console. I've been looking at this thing on YouTube and blah blah. Blah. I can't wait to dig into this thing and see what it can do. And that's a different place to start from.
Yeah.
And
Because I toured for so many years, and I've always went to many different venues, and we didn't tour with a desk. So
every day was a new day.
Every day was a new day. So I had to learn. I'll never forget my first time on the actual digital desk was the LS9. I was thrown to the wolves. I'd never seen a digital board, anything. And the guy that was the head engineer for the event, he said, listen, take it easy, look at it as an analog desk, and I'll navigate you through the rest. He said, just sit at the desk like it's analog, get your mix together, what you know, and we'll work from there. And since that approach, that's what I've been doing for 25 years. Yeah, with all boards, with all mixers. Let me do this before I get in trouble and I got to sleep in the doghouse or something, in the garage, outside with my grill. Let me give kudos to my wife and other female engineers. My wife, and Dan is not lying, my wife can mix better than me. Okay. She has better ears than me. I can't argue that. She has better ears. Okay. Now
women typically do.
True.
Listen, say what you got to say, Kendrick, and then let's move the subject because I'm about to say some things that'll get us canceled.
Awesome. Do it up.
No, I can't go there. Not in perpetuity on the internet.
Well, so I just want to give my wife, respect, and all female engineers, but once again, my wife is phenomenal. When she works with me, as long as we don't bump heads, she's a good front of the house mixer, and I give her credit. I give credit where credit's due. It takes a load off of me.
Oh, well, you're not getting off that easy, man, because I want to know what happens when you disagree with what she's doing.
you see home come out of her. You know that wife. You're in trouble. You need to take out the trash voice. Yeah, that comes out in public.
Yeah, if you say no, I think that the vocals sound too harsh, so then she reverts to as if you didn't take the garbage out at home.
No, I'm just talking about the tone, but behind her comment.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
She respond as if you're supposed to do something that you didn't do.
Yeah.
Don't criticize my mix.
Right, or
I told you to take the garbage out last night.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So
I don't think I've ever seen Scales correct or criticize any of Leslie's mixes. So I'm thinking maybe he wisely shuts up even if he disagrees.
Yes, this is the problem with the war of the sexes. If we're gonna be even, you got to be able to take criticism too.
Well, she can take it, but she's probably right. That's the thing.
Okay.
No.
And with that, I'm just gonna go.
I work best at peace. If I'm at peace. I'm good. If I'm frustrated, all hell's breaking loose. I'm telling. Okay, let me give you guys a story. So we were in this gig in Madison last year, September, and the lead singer kept talking trash. My mic is screwed up, so he kept jumping between mics. I'm like, dude, let me just sweeten yours. Just stay on it. The sound sucks, blah, 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 blah. And I don't get frustrated easy. And he got me frustrated. I mean, so frustrated that I was ready to kick his behind at the intermission. I'm like, you know what? That's it. Gloves off. I'm ready to whoop this joker behind. Get him. Bring him in the back. My wife was like, give me that mixer. I'll take over right now. I'm like, no, I'm gonna kick his behind. I'll straighten him out. And yeah, man, she saved him. She saved his behind. But I'm a peaceful guy, and I work best in a peaceful atmosphere. Whether you guys can go at it, but I no, let me do my job, especially a corporate gig. Let me do my job and be done. I'm not here for all that stuff. So if she start coming at me, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just backing down.
It's the same relationship as at home.
Yeah. Listen, I got too many women in my lives. I got a wife, a mother-in-law, 5 daughters, and three granddaughters.
I can't say nothing.
What was my introduction question? What was my happy space? Outside.
Yeah. Because inside, estrogen rules.
Man, listen, I go in my room and close the door.
This is my man right here, man.
I was like,
Madison and eat barbecue standing in his backyard. Against the wall, JT.
Man, listen, I put my headset on. I'm in a whole nother world.
Oh, man.
I will say this, too, because I know both of them very well. Well, first of all, I want you to tell the story, because you taught her how to mix, right?
Yeah.
So he was the teacher, and then the student eclipsed the teacher. So really, that's, I'm sure, why he trusts her opinion more often than not. Okay. But also, again, with this specific, it's funny, I was having this conversation earlier, it might have been with my wife. There's a certain type of dynamic between a hard-headed man and his long-suffering wife that sees the greatness in him. I'm not going to mention any specific examples, Michael and Kim Bland, Kendrick and Leslie Scales, Dan and Nia Newman, Joe McClain and his late wife, Carol. Michael remembers Joe from the last. There's a certain type of dynamic where in a certain type of healthy marriage, and again, I don't know everybody's marriage here. I know Cody's wife a little bit. It's that your wife has your back 100% because she is ready to fight for you. Like, you know what I mean? There's just a certain type of dynamic between a husband and a wife that would really fight for her husband. If she sees anybody even looking at him funny, she's ready to go. Because and I know, Michael, you know what I'm talking about because I know Kim, and that's the kind of dynamic that the Scales have. So it's again, my wife's been on this show. I think everybody knows her at least a little bit. she might stress me out more than anybody, but if anybody else is stressing me out, she's ready to murder him. Right. And so
she's doing her job.
There's a certain type of trust that you have in that relationship where you're not gonna, if that side's coming out of Leslie, Scales knows,
Yeah.
Okay. And
all I'm saying is that none of us are infallible, So sometimes other people can offer us insight into our process. So
I'm lucky to have anyone.
And your wife is amazing. Your wife is amazing, Cody. So you.
What?
It took me a while to get there. It took me a long time because I've always been, as a musician, I was independent. Don't tell me nothing I don't want to hear, And then for my wife to come tell me on a show. Matter of fact, we were in the gig we did in Iowa, Dan, the one I got sick. You're muted.
All I said was I remember.
Yeah. So, and that's where it really started. I was vulnerable. I was just like, I'm sick and I can't perform like I want to. And she just jumped right in like, okay, show me what I need to do. Show me what I need to do, because I was out of it. I was sick.
I remember this because that was a relationship building moment between me and Scales too. Because, and we already told enough of your business, Scales. I don't think it's doing anything out of turn to tell. So you have epilepsy or something like that, right? And so you had a seizure when we were setting up the gear to do a concert. It was like an auditorium, maybe like 1,000-seater with a couple of national headliners, and you had a seizure and weren't even conscious, and the gear wasn't even set up yet.
Right.
And so I know enough about sound. And then Leslie knew enough about sound that I was there playing guitar, and I was like, okay, let me put my guitar down, and I'm going to finish setting up the system. Me and Leslie set up the system, and we made sure that everything was in place. By the time that Scales recovered, everything was set up, and then we made sure he didn't have to do anything physically the rest of the night. He told us what we needed, and we did it for him. And while I hate to see that kind of stuff happen, that was a great trust building exercise, because then he knew that those were two people that had his back, that he could just say, do this, and
Yeah, it was very difficult for me because once again, I never had to depend on anyone. I've always been, basically like the one-man show. Like, I got it. Let me do what I need to do to get it done. And at that moment, I learned her gift really was hidden, and I have a daughter who really can hear just as good as my wife and I, but she won't take the proper steps to learn the mix. She can hear it, but she don't want to learn the mix. And I think that's 99% of most people's issues. They can hear it, but they don't want to learn the fundamentals of mixing.
Sure. I mean, Cody, I know for a fact that Cody can teach anybody how to run sound. And the other day, my wife was saying some incendiary things about her job, and she said, I think I want to start running sound. I want to learn how to run sound. I said, don't say it around Cody, because he'll put you right on the board.
I would love that.
Cody can teach anybody. He would love to teach you how to run sound.
Teach me, Cody. Teach me.
Oh, come on. I'm sure you can too. It's giving people permission. I think a lot of times that I've always thought that Michael, if he wasn't such a fantastic musician, would be the best sound engineer, because his ears are so great.
Yeah.
And he hears everything. I take, if Michael says something to me, I understand it to be truth, and then I investigate, and it always helps me. And he's hearing from the drum throne, so that's pretty incredible to me.
Yeah.
Well,
most drummers go ahead, Michael.
And vice versa. I just want to say, Cody has, once I realized that Cody was my ally and not my adversary, I began to take the information he was giving me about gain to noise ratio, noise floors, phase, and like he just sort of, through the process of talking, I had a sense of I got a better sense of what he's up against.
Yeah.
And also what works better for me. So it's the thing that this whole series really was about encouraging positive dialogue between sound engineers and the musicians who are up there, who think that they're not all working for the same goal. Like the sound engineer is not a part of their process. Like you just do what you do, and I'll do what I do, and good luck. And that's not any way to have a good night for anybody.
No, and a lot of musicians come across as, this is the way I want it. I can care less what you say about sound. This is what I want for my mix, or this is what I think you should do for the house, and be very, be a jerk about it.
Yeah, flipping.
One thing that I hate is when the artist comes with the MD, and the MD wants to tell you the whole show, like they're gonna know how the whole atmosphere. They're on tour or whatever, and they're big jerks about it. I want to say another word, but we're
right.
You want to be saying that in 2057 when they dig this podcast stuff.
I said we cuss on this podcast, but you the preacher, so
Reverend Scales was cussing all up and down on that music politics show.
Well, I just say this much: it start with an A. And you fill another two blanks. They just want to be that about it. And one thing that really irks me or gets under my skin is these people that try to predict the show. They want to predict the show and tell you, this is gonna happen. This is gonna happen. You have I don't want to go on a rampage about it, but it's you understand as far as when you're touring how some people could just be acting. They come to your venue or whatever. Sometimes it just don't make sense.
Yeah, I got it. I actually have another podcast I need to join pretty soon.
All right.
Spiffy,
I'm at the 2-hour mark anyhow here, so
I'm down to 5% on my phone too. So
we got to wrap this up.
Might be time for final thoughts. What do you think, Cody? I mean,
this whole thing. Final thoughts.
Yeah.
We're about to wrap this up, Dan Spiffy Neuman.
Yeah.
My final thoughts are: it's really been a pleasure for me to be here with you, Kendrick Scales, and I hope I get to know you better. I love your enthusiasm about sound. I really hope that more people can give themselves the chance, like your wife did, to learn how fun it is to control audio and be part of the band, and part of the performance.
And I think that's it right there. I mean, that's what we're all trying to get to, right? Is having that sound guy. I know I saw the comment earlier. I know we keep saying sound guy, but that means sound person. That's just not the term. The term.
There you go. There you go.
Sound individual.
No offense to anyone, but that is the ultimate goal: is to have that person out front feel like the other band member who is working just as hard to present the thing, so we all shine together. And when we get lucky enough to have our own sound person that goes with us everywhere, then we get to that point. It's a much more difficult thing when you drop into a new place every day, a new person, have to start from scratch. But maybe that's the idea, is to treat it as if it's already the case until it fails you, and then go into your defensive state instead of starting from a defense.
Don't come in with your chest stuck out.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Let's think that this is all going to work until proven otherwise.
Right. Especially in an environment where that person has been in that building, mixing sound.
Right.
They know what it sounds like.
That's it.
You don't need to come in and challenge their experience. You can't be talked out of it. No one can be talked out of their experience anyway.
Right.
At least, give them the latitude, give them the right of way, and try to work together to make the night successful.
Yeah. Well, I'm honored to be here on this platform with you guys.
Yeah, man, it's good to meet
you. Michael, hey,
you
are cream of the crop next to Calvin Rogers.
I give it to Calvin. Calvin can have it, man. I'm not fighting Calvin for nothing.
Only reason Calvin got props for me, honestly, is because I watched him grow up, and I'm a Chicago boy, so
I got it,
you know.
man. No,
Yeah.
man, Calvin
But,
is,
you know.
Scales, did you see the episode we did with Calvin? Well, we did a few with Calvin, but did you see the one that was just me, Michael, and Calvin?
No, I didn't see it.
I'll send it to you, and anybody else who's listening or watching, go back and find that. I believe that was the first season of Music Politics in 2020.
Okay.
It was Calvin Rogers was our guest, and then he was also one of the panels we had for the tributes to both David Garibaldi and Clyde Stubblefield. Yeah. So Calvin's a member of the Music Politics family. We love Calvin here.
Cool.
And I have fond memories of sitting in Michael's home studio and us listening to some tracks that Calvin recorded together. And I don't know if you remember that, Michael. We were listening to some, I think it was some old John P. Key records. He was like, Calvin can play like that.
He's a teenager. Yeah.
no Calvin, man. Calvin is no joke.
Yeah.
But I tell you, the funniest. No other moment can eclipse the moment when Dennis Chambers popped in on the Clyde Stubblefield.
I remember that.
Oh,
And
wow.
everybody just, oh man, Calvin stopped talking and froze.
Everyone stopped talking. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
All Dennis got to do is show his face, and everybody goes, oh.
Right.
Yeah.
For good reason, you know.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
well, all right.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, you know, this has been an interesting journey. Me and you bringing back the resurrecting the Music Politics platform for a worthy cause. You know, hopefully.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I was going to ask, we left it open if it was going to be a 3 or a 4-part series. Do we want to come back next week and just, it doesn't have to be serious. We can just chat a little bit like we're doing now without a specific topic, or do we want to leave it here?
I want to come back.
You want to come back, Cody?
I want to be back.
Then
it'll do it next week. I'll do it.
It'll just be me. Yeah. If nobody else wants to do it, it'll just be me and Cody. Scales, you want to come back next week?
Sure.
I'll come back.
JT, you know you have
I'm back because Cody's coming back.
I don't think.
All right.
Next Tuesday. Let's try.
Yeah.
And again, we can keep talking about the same general topic, or we can just talk about music and life, like many of our. I was telling Michael earlier, or even and maybe Nia. I can't remember who I was having the conversation with. That some of the best episodes that we've had sometimes were just me and Michael talking without a specific topic in mind. Sometimes it's just, you know, we have like-minded people and we have certain things that we care about, and it's all kind of in the same wheelhouse. And it's nice to get together on that. And we have you know, people that follow this platform, some while it's live, some listen and watch later, and that they look forward to it. We had even some comments today. People missed us when we were gone, so I'm never gonna be against coming back, but I do want to specifically.
That's because you do it for them. I do it for us.
Well, I do it for both. I do it because, well, and another reason is I do it because
pleaser. I'm over that phase of my life. Where I'm doing
People
it
are watching.
Yeah.
I do.
Oh, I thought we were just talking about it.
Yeah. No, I do it. A lot of it is for posterity, because after we're gone, there's many different ways that we can have left something positive behind, and some of it's going to be through music, some of it's going to be through one-on-one interactions we have with people, and then there's going to be stuff like this that people can look at and go see, oh, Michael Bland was more than just a drummer; he was a deep thinker.
Right.
You know,
He
Scales
brought
was
3
just
Leslies to the show. I
right.
can't believe that. Right.
Not really, but all right. Well,
go ahead, Michael.
No, just God bless everybody on this, whether you believe or not. I'm asking God to bless everybody right now.
Do you want to show the merch real quick? I know some people's batteries are going to die.
If you want to show,
my battery is dead.
Well, if anybody has to drop off, we will see you next week. But let me pull up some of this this merch from Michael's show.
Yeah, we got Brothers merchandise. Me and Sonny, I mentioned earlier, we started a duo called Brothers, and
oh yeah, pick it up. Pick up the single. I know the single's out. I saw
the single is called Brother.
I need a t-shirt.
And
all right,
there's the socks we got on the online store opens, I think, sometime this week. Ryan Smith said he'd have it open. So
Smith had to get a strike on those socks.
I want the socks.
Merch.
Are those arthritis socks?
Are they what?
Arthritis socks.
Arthritis socks.
Skills want the old man version.
Oh, you need them for.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I need support, Doc.
You need them for your gout.
Yeah, I'm up in the gout.
Yeah.
And then there's the Brothers T-shirt.
Edema. Yeah,
I like the T-shirt. Yeah.
Okay, well they're going to be available online. I don't know exactly the day.
And there's a CD single as well for the single, right?
Yes,
for the brother
everything should be
Okay, cool.
So maybe this week we'll probably have it open, and next week I'll share the link.
Cool, yeah.
Okay. Well, Cody rolled off. Yeah, Cody's up.
I think Cody's phone
Cody's battery died. That's okay. He was there on site at the venue, you know.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, yeah, I got to go because I'm supposed to be elsewhere.
Oh yeah, you got another show to do. So okay. Everybody, thanks again. We will see you for one more installment next week, and then after that, you just never know when we will pop up because there's no official conclusion to this. We just take breaks. So we will see you next week. I think Michael already prayed us out, and hopefully we can have JT and Scales with us next week. So I'm going to end the stream. Thank you so much for watching. See you in a week.
All righty.